Okay, let's get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the QuickBooks Online for Small Businesses webinar. My name is Tuba Baloğlu, and I'm the Neighborhood Business and Real Estate Specialist at Shaker Heights Development Corporation. Today's webinar is presented by Melissa Sferra from BudgetEase Bookkeeping. Today you will learn about the features, functions, and benefits of QuickBooks Online and how to implement accounting best practices to manage your business finances. A few reminder and a little housekeeping before we get started. This webinar is being recorded. To cut down background noise, please mute your microphone when you're not talking. And if you have any questions during the presentation, you can put them into the chat box. We will have time for questions at the end. I'd like to get started with introductions. I'll take a few moments for each of the attendees to briefly introduce themselves. When called, please state your name and tell us a little bit about your business. And remember to unmute your microphone and please keep your introduction brief. On my screen, I have Kenyatta. Good morning, Kenyatta. Can you please introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kenyatta. I am a nail tech, and I have a nail studio located in Shaker. It is at 3689 Lee Road, Suite 2C. I've been doing nails for about 13 years, and I only do natural nails. I do regular manicures, gel manicures, and pedicures and gel pedicures. Nice to meet you, ladies.
Thank you.
Oh, and gentlemen.
James Marr.
Hi, I'm James Marr. I run Master Marr's Taekwondo on Chagrin. We've been in business for 8 years. I've used Quicken for 20 years, but I've never used QuickBooks, so I'm looking forward to today.
Stevie Turner.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stevie Turner. I am an associate realtor with Fast Real Estate Services. I am an independent contractor. I focus on commercial real estate, and I do have QuickBooks Online, and what I'd like to learn is how to use more of the capabilities, the options, and so forth. I mean, all I've been doing is just kind of tracking my bank account and, you know, those expenses that are business expenses, etc. So just want to learn more.
Thank you. Patty Nicholas.
Hi, I'm Patty Nicholas. I'm actually located in Omaha, Nebraska. I just happened to see this webinar on LinkedIn, but the reason I'm here is I've actually in the past always worked for large companies like General Motors and Yahoo and Conagra Foods, but I'm in the middle of a career transition and I'm starting to look at a couple small companies, and I was just kind of curious. QuickBooks is so common with small companies. I've only used things like SAP and Oracle and those programs that are meant for large organizations. So I was just curious how this worked, and if I do end up applying to smaller companies, I think this would help me out.
Welcome. Julie.
Hi, good morning. I'm Julie Kaufman, and I am Tuba's colleague at SHDC, and I'm very glad to be here to learn more so I can spread the word about QuickBooks Online.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming today, joining us today. Now, I would like to welcome our presenter today, Melissa Sferra. She's a consultant at BudgetEase Bookkeeping, which is located in the dealership. Melissa has a business degree and 10 years of bookkeeping experience for several diverse companies in fields such as construction, leasing, food service, photography, and nonprofit. Before acquiring her QuickBooks Online certification, she was primarily self-taught and appreciated the challenges and importance of managing and maintaining accurate books. Without any further ado, I will turn the time over to Melissa.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction and for showing up. I really appreciate it. Like Tuba said, my name is Melissa Sferra and I work at BudgetEase. So I'm actually in the dealership right now upstairs. So we're going to get started. I have a PowerPoint presentation, so I'm going to share that and we'll just jump right in. Okay. And this is the first time I'm using the presenting PowerPoint within the team. So if there's a glitch or something, I have a different view than you, so just let me know. So we have a lot of ground to cover in the next half hour or so, so I'm gonna jump right in. So it was nice to meet all of you and get your backgrounds. So it seems like some of you have at least some idea of what QuickBooks is or some interest in it, if you're not already using it yourself. There are many facets and features and tips and tricks to using QuickBooks. There's so many that we'll barely be kind of tipping our toe in today, but I'll cover as much ground as I can. I apologize if it's overwhelming. I'm like an information junkie, so like I have 1,000 slides, so I will try to not overwhelm you. And then, you know, and I'll try to save as much time as I can as well for questions. So make sure that we get those answered as well. Before we dive into the magical world of bookkeeping, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So as Tuba said, it's actually over 12 years now. I guess I need to update my my little blurb that I have on our website. A bookkeeping experience, originally self-taught, and I was originally self-taught on QuickBooks Desktop. It was kind of one of those things where it was a family business. I used to, you know, grab lunch and clean floors and file papers, and it kind of snowballed and ended up going to school for business and eventually became the office manager. My father's quite the entrepreneur, so we had lots of businesses and I had to kind of just figure it out as I went. So it gives me a unique perspective when people come in for training, or if they have, you know, if their books happen to be, you know, maybe a little bit of a mess, I can definitely sympathize, and it's a lot of the same kind of errors that I probably made myself. So anyway, I'm a QuickBooks certified pro advisor. So everyone on our team at BudgetEase is. So every year we get certified, so we know what we are doing and talking about. And then I'm the primary trainer for BudgetEase. So if you were to come to BudgetEase and want training, or you know, need a speaker for something, I'm your gal. Just a couple personal things before we really dive into the nitty-gritty. I love to travel. I have been to 10 countries outside of the US, and I'm hoping to make it to Costa Rica this year. I'm a certified yoga instructor, and as you can see, my cute little baby, Daisy, I recently adopted her just a little over a month ago, and she's the greatest. We were at the Edgewater dog park, the portion of the beach there that you can bring your dog. So anyway, I'm not at home, and she's usually right like on the, you know, on the edge of my seat looking, trying to see what's going on my computer. So she's here in spirit. Okay, so some of this is probably going to be very, you know, kind of basic. You guys probably know a lot of this, but in case you don't, or in case there's something that you thought you knew and you didn't, or, you know, there's a little piece of information that might be missing. Like I said, there's so much that goes into QuickBooks that, you know, there's just a million features. So bear with me if you've heard some of this stuff before. So what is QuickBooks Online? It is, and I may just to preface, I may bounce back between the terms QuickBooks and the abbreviation QBO, so QuickBooks Online. So if I say QBO, I mean QuickBooks. I just fall into it out of habit. So it's a cloud-based Intuit product. So Intuit owns QuickBooks. So cloud-based means that it doesn't require software installation. So if you were using QuickBooks Desktop, of course you would need that installation, but for what our purposes today, we're talking about QuickBooks Online. So no software installation required. It's available in multiple subscription levels. So each price point has different features, a different amount of users, and we'll go over those towards the end. And it's ideal for most small to medium-sized businesses, with some exceptions, including businesses that have like really complicated inventory, which I'll also cover a little bit later, or a lot of job costing requirements. So this would not, so we kind of made it work for us in the construction business, but I would not say that it's geared towards that specifically. There's lots of workarounds, lots of add-ons, lots of apps and integrations that you can do for QuickBooks, but I would say those all came after the fact. But it is ideal for most small to medium size, especially like service businesses. And you can access your data from anywhere because it's cloud-based and because of the many applications that it has. So you can access it from a computer or tablet, and there's also a mobile app that comes with every subscription level as well. So if you're, some sort of a freelance person or you travel a lot, it's nice to just be able to check, your bank balances or capture a receipt just by taking a photo on your phone. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go over this and then we'll get into more detail on each one as we go. But this is just an overview of some of the features and benefits that QuickBooks Online offers. You can create and track your invoices. And when I say track, there's actually an audit log. You can see, so I've had clients that say, your bookkeeper never sent this invoice and I'm not paying and na. And I can see on the audit log the day and time that they opened it, how many times they clicked on it. So it's really nice. That I really like that feature, especially if you send invoices and sometimes it can be, if you're having a difficult time collecting. Usually there's crickets if you send them a picture of your audit log. So anyway, you can do that. You can keep track of bills and expenses. So you can actually physically enter your bills, or there's a way to upload your bills and integrate them into QuickBooks that way. Generate and customize financial statements. It has a lot of really good reports available. QuickBooks Payroll, which is an add-on feature. You don't have to use it, but it's there. And it also, different payroll providers integrate well with QuickBooks as well. And it's compatible with many applications. As you guys probably know, Intuit is like this huge umbrella, and there's lots of stuff that goes into it. And it's kind of like if they don't already own it, everyone wants to sort of be able to be compatible with it. So it's not perfect, but there's a lot of integrations that are there and third-party apps and more on the way all the time. You can also track inventory, which we'll get into that a little bit later. It simplifies your taxes by giving you really good reporting, so you don't have to kind of be guessing what your gross sales are, or whatever how much sales tax you owe, because you're putting it in as you go. So then you have a nice, clean, accurate report when you need it. And then it also has another feature, which is an add-on you don't have to use. It's called QuickBooks Payments, and it's their merchant service provider, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. Like I said earlier, you can scan receipts and upload documents. You can track your mileage. There is class and location accounting, and you can track 1099 vendors. First, I'm going to walk you through, so I'm going to go through 3 sort of processes in QuickBooks instead of just kind of bouncing around and just showing you little pieces and kind of like shortcuts and stuff. I'm going to actually go through 3 full processes if I can get through it. So the first one I'm going to walk you through is the receivable side of bookkeeping, which includes customers, invoicing, receiving and applying payments. Then we'll cover the payable side, so the opposite, your vendors and your bills. And this is going to be a bit of an overview of what QuickBooks can do and how to use it. Like I said, there's going to be many nuances and features that we unfortunately won't have time to cover, but I'm hoping the content that I provide gives you a basic understanding of these specific processes. So the Customer Center, which is here, is where you can go to set up a new customer. You can see an overview of your open invoices and see all your customers in an alphabetical list. So there's an action drop down for each customer. As you can see, it looks like a blue link on the left-hand side, and you can create an invoice, receive a payment, edit your customer information. And it's just like a really nice user-friendly interface. It shows you kind of like it's just nice. It shows you everything you kind of need to know if you're looking for an overview of your customers without actually having to run a report. So you can see if your customers have any open balances, if anything's overdue, it'll show up at the top in that colored sort of blocked ribbon there. So if you click on the invoice tab on this page, which is kind of, we have the customer, which is underlined, so it's like 3 to the left from that. You can click a link that says new invoice and you'll make it to our next slide. Here. So this is obviously a blank invoice. From here, you'd pick your customer you want to send an invoice to, as well as invoice date. You know, very self-explanatory, just like you would do in any other kind of application, or even if you just had a template on Excel. Next, you would choose your product or service that you are charging them for. So you would have those already set up beforehand. And then you and then you can email your invoice to your customer just by clicking save and send. So once you set your customer up, once you're in the customer setup window, you can enter their email address. So it will just automatically generate on this page. And if you didn't have it or don't, when you set it up, you can add it to this page as well. So all the billing information that you have recorded for each customer will show up automatically. And then you can also make your invoices recurring, which for some clients is really nice. If you have people that are on kind of like a subscription base, if they have the same bill every month, every other month, every 3 months, there's a way to set that up. And you can also have like a hard stop. So, you know, it's $200 every other month for the next 6 months, or, you know, whatever. So that's a nice feature as well. So so if you send your invoices via email, which is what I'm assuming most people would do, this is what your customer kind of receives, this box, this grayish, bluish box. So when they get it, they'll get an email from QuickBooks, not from you personally. So that can get a little tricky at first. Sometimes people say they can't see it, they don't know where it is, they have to, you know, you might have to say, check your other folder or your junk folder or whatever. And then, you know, after the first growing pain, the first the first one, it's usually pretty smooth sailing. So if you send your invoices via email, this is what it looks like in the email body, the body of the email that your customer receives. So your customer can click that review and pay is actually a link, and it will take them to another page. So if you have QuickBooks payments set up, which is one of the features we mentioned before, you can receive payments right from QuickBooks. You know, right from they can pay their bill right from this email. And there's different QuickBooks payment. There's different options. So you can choose kind of however you want. You can, so for BudgetEase, we only accept ACH payments because, you know, credit card processing is expensive. So we don't offer that at this time, but you can. So they can pay with ACH, a debit card. Did we lose our share?
Yes.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened. It looks like somebody took control or not. You are about to present. Okay, great. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened. Let me get to our correct. Okay. So you can receive QuickBooks payments directly. And if that happens, it's really nice because QuickBooks just applies the payment to the specific invoice that is paid. So you don't have to do anything within QBO to apply that payment. QuickBooks also allows you to send invoice reminders. So it's very simple. It's just a really nice quick click of a button. So if you have an open invoice, there's a little drop down box that just says send reminder, and it just sends like a, instead of sending the whole email again, or instead of sending a statement, it's more of like a gentle reminder. That's just like, hey, this is still open, and it has the same kind of look where it says you can review and pay it right from the screen. And you can also, if you have one of those customers that just cannot figure out where this this invoice came, they can't find it. They're like, I'm not seeing anything from QuickBooks. This hardly ever happens. I think I've only had to use the share invoice link once, but you can actually have a link and you can just send it from, your business email to your customer as well, if there's some sort of an issue. And then you can also send statements that are automatically generated. You can customize them a bit, but it's really nice because, again, it's not something you have to go in and, you just pick the customer, pick the statement. It'll have everything on there that's still open, and you can just send it in an email immediately. So when the customer clicks the review and pay link from the last slide in the email, it will take them to the full invoice, something similar to this. QuickBooks also has invoice templates and design tools that help you customize the look and content of your invoice. Although the options are quite limited, as you can see, you can make your invoice look just about as good as Paul the Plumber's. That's about it. There's not a lot of pizzazz that goes into it, but you can add your logo. You can add, you can change the template. So if you don't like it in a list, you could have the old-fashioned sort of different boxes, and you can change if you want the terms on there or whatever. So there's some customization, but it's not really that great, but it gets the job done. Okay, so we're coming full circle. So the next step is to receive the payment from your customer. So let's say that you don't have QuickBooks payments and someone just wrote you a check and mailed it to you. This is when you would go to receive payment. And there is a kind of a main button on QuickBooks that you can click. It's called Plus New, and it's usually in the top right-hand corner of the screen, and it's kind of like a shortcut page to everything. So you can literally just click Plus New, receive payment, and this will pop up. So on the receivement payment screen, you choose your customer, enter the date, choose where you want to deposit that amount. So if you know you're going to deposit into your checking account, you just use the little drop down and choose checking. So like I said before, if you have QBO payments, this step isn't going to be needed because it's going to automatically apply it to your invoice. So Amy's Bird Sanctuary, once we put her name into the customer center, all of her outstanding invoices will be listed. She just has one. So you would just click the little box on the left-hand side of the invoice and then enter the payment amount. So if it will automatically generate the open balance, so it will say $239. But if for some reason, she split the payment or only sent you $100 or, whatever, you just put in, you can override that and put in whatever the actual amount is. Okay, that was really fast. I know that was a lot of info. It wasn't complicated info, but it was just quick. So we're just going to keep rolling. We're going to move on to the vendor side now. So we're just kind of flip-flopping. Very similar to the customer center, as you can see. I actually accidentally put the wrong screen grab in originally because it looks so similar. I put the customer one in twice. So here it is. So very similar. You click new vendor, add all of your vendor information, including, address, email, and there's also a little check mark box right in when you set up the new vendor that you simply check off if you want your vendor to be a 1099, tracked for 1099 filing. So 1099 filing is, you're paying somebody basically wages, but they're not part of your payroll. So independent contractor or something like that. And then it can track it and you'll have a really nice report to file at the end of the year. Okay, so again, the bill screen looks very similar to the invoice screen. And in QBO and in general, this gets a little bit confusing. So when we talk about invoices, we're talking about something that you in your company is sending out to a customer. And we're talking about a bill, it's something that you as the business has to pay. So sometimes those get intermixed a bit, but so for our purposes, that's the terminology. So this is where you enter your bill information. You can categorize the amount due by expense account under category, and you can actually add several if you want. So say you went to, Best Buy and you bought a very expensive computer and you wanted that to be listed as an asset, you can put category asset, $2,000 and then, $50 in office supplies or whatever the split may be. And you can do as many as you want. So that's really nice as well. Or you can categorize your expenses via the item detail. So you can see the category detail is expanded, and then underneath that it says item detail, and it's hidden, but it looks exactly the same. It has this sort of like table underneath it. And when you would want to use the item detail is when you need to track your inventory. So if you are purchasing items to resell or components of items to resell, and those are set up in your inventory as a product or a service, that is when you would include it there. QuickBooks will automatically adjust your COGS, your cost of goods sold, and the amount of inventory on hand according to how much you would purchase. So you can also pay a bill via ACH through QuickBooks or a third-party application such as Melio. I don't know if any of you have used Melio or have heard of it. It's relatively new, and it's created by the same people some of the same people that created Venmo. So it's the same kind of interface, super easy to use, but it's business to business. And they integrate fairly well with QuickBooks. Like I said, it's still new, so I ran into a couple little kinks and stuff, but their customer service is really great. You always get to talk to like an actual person that worked on the software development because it's such a small company. But they play very well with QuickBooks. Okay, so then if you would go to that plus new button that I talked about and just clicked pay bills instead of receive payments, since we're on the other side, this is the screen that you will enter. And it will show all of your open bills. And you can see it also gives you an alert if something is overdue. So that's what those little red blurbs are, the little teardrop things with the exclamation point. So from here, you can choose your checks, or you can choose your bills you want to pay, and you can choose the payment account that you are paying out of. And you can print a physical check from here. You can record payments that you've made by handwritten check or by an ACH through different, like if you already have your stuff set up like on your PNC account or on your banking where you could just pay from there, you just record it. Or, if you pay with a debit or credit card. You can also schedule online payments and third-party payments from this screen as well. So, so if you were to click, 3 of these bills, you can either click save and close or save and schedule payment if you have those set up. Okay, another big breath, and we're moving on to the banking side of QuickBooks. So this is my favorite part of QuickBooks. I really like the bank feed. Most people don't like it, but I am a bookkeeping nerd. So there are 3 main components to banking feature in QuickBooks. So the bank feed, the bank register, and your reconciliation. So we're going to go through each one of those. So you can connect your bank accounts, savings accounts, credit card accounts directly to QuickBooks Online. So what that means is QuickBooks downloads the banking activity, so like directly from your bank feed. So if you go into your online banking and look at your activity, QuickBooks is going to pull that information. And each transaction is stored in the bank feed, which is this screen here. Until it's properly categorized or matched with a transaction already in existence within QuickBooks. So such as if we received, a paper check from a customer, we received the payment in QuickBooks, just like we showed before. Then once it clears, it will show up on this screen and we can match those 2 transactions together. And it does get a little tricky because if you don't, if you don't match things properly, then you'll have duplicate entries because you'll have the manual entry and the automatically downloaded transaction that actually cleared the bank. So it does take a little bit of time to get used to the bank feed. It's definitely, I don't know that it's not unique to QuickBooks, but I really like it. It's a really good feature. Okay, so once a transaction is matched or categorized properly, it's then added to the bank register. So basically, the bank feed, this page, this screen, is a holding tank. So none of your transactions that are on this page are going to show up like in your reporting or anything. It's not going to show up on your bank register until you click add or match. So the way you would do that is if you would click on this top transaction, so it's books by Bessie, and it's right now it's sitting in uncategorized income. So QuickBooks will oftentimes try to guess where things go. In the bank feed, oftentimes they're wrong. So you have to go through each individual transaction. And it sort of has that AI, like it will learn your patterns as you go. So it will realize that like books by Bessie are continuing education or office expense or whatever category I want to enter it in. And it will eventually pick it up and add that in. But it is really important that in your bank register or bank feed, you go through each transaction individually to make sure the expense or the expense categories are correct. So we have books by Bessie. So we don't have a bill for this. We know we just went with our debit card. We gave it to, we have a receipt. It's just, we just went to a bookstore and bought some books. So we're not going to enter a bill. You can categorize the transaction right from here and you don't have to match it to anything. So we would just click that. Books by Bessie is already in the payee. So that's like the vendor name. And then we would put it in, continued education instead of uncategorized income. And there would be a drop down box that you can choose any expense category that you would like. And then you would just click add. So if we had, so say for this deposit, let's do the very last one, the $868.15. So we can see here that it actually found a match. So if that $868.15, say we received that paper check and we recorded the deposit, from our customer, just like we would have in the previous slides, QuickBooks found that and said, hey, I see that you already entered this. You already have a record of the invoice and the payment. So here's the cleared check. So let's match these together. And we can see that it's the exact same date, exact same amount. So I am happy with that. I would just click match. So once all of those things are done in your bank feed, you can move on to the bank register. So the bank register looks very much like, an old school checking register. So in the back of your checkbook or the front of your checkbook, I don't even know. I think the front, I don't know. But the bank register houses every transaction entered into QuickBooks, whether manually, like if you added it through, a customer payment or a bill payment, or through the bank feed once you have accepted those transactions. So it also shows you the account balance and whether or not the transaction has been matched. So next to the balance column, which is all the way to the right, there is a little column that has a check mark and 2 squares. So if your transaction had been matched properly to a bank feed transaction, then there would be 2 little green squares in that column. And if it was reconciled, there would also be an R or a C if it was cleared but not reconciled yet. So it gives you a lot of information, and you can also filter this. So if someone has a crazy question and you're on the, this happens to us a lot, we're on the kind of, if someone calls and says, oh my gosh, I'm having this big issue, can you look in my books? I need to, I think this number is wrong, da-da-da. So you can filter it by, with the little, looks like a little filter, a little funnel. And by date, you can look for, you can also sort it by vendor, amount. There's lots of different ways to kind of manipulate this defined information instead of just scrolling through the entire bank register. So then we move on to the bank reconciliation page. So this is where it comes full circle. So now we have all of our transactions in there, they're put in properly. And now we take our bank statement. So this is a checking account. And on the previous page to this reconciliation page, it's just it just tells you can pick which account you want to reconcile, and then you enter in the ending balance on your statement and the ending date on your statement. Then you click OK and you end up on this page. QBO will automatically choose the transactions that came through your bank feed with the date range you're working in. So this is March 23rd, so it will automatically just choose things that it thinks. Like I said, it's kind of intuitive. Sometimes it does well, and you'll end up with a zero difference instead of this $392.95. And instead of a yellow exclamation point, it will be a green check mark, and you can just reconcile and move on with your life. If it's showing a balance like it is in the screenshot, then you need to use your bank statement to make sure all of your transactions on your bank statement are check marked within the reconciliation screen, and that there aren't additional transactions check marked on the reconciliation screen that are not showing up on your bank statement. So basically, you just want them to match, and when they do match, this difference will be zero, and you can click reconciliation, and then you are done with that. So those are the three main components that I wanted to really get through. I have a couple more things to go through, and it's pretty quick, so I will be as brief as possible because a lot of this stuff is sort of optional. So QBO Payroll, an optional service. You can use a payroll service that you already have. You don't have to use payroll at all if you don't have payroll. So it's obviously a convenient option because it's already a part of the QuickBooks family. There's no outside integration or tax mapping needed, which is definitely a bonus, especially if you're doing your own bookkeeping. You can track time and pay your employees directly from QBO, and QuickBooks creates the proper entries to break out taxes, deductions, and wages automatically. So there, like I mentioned earlier, there are outside payroll services that play well with QuickBooks and do the same type of integration. You may have to do what's called mapping, which you go onto your current payroll. They say, yeah, we can, do this. Tell us where you want this stuff to go, and we'll push it to QuickBooks. So you may have to do a little bit of setup, saying, okay, I want this to be in my, payroll wages expense account. I want this to be in my, employer tax, expense account or liability account, depending on how you're setting your payroll up. So we have many clients that have payroll options that are not compatible. And if that is the case for you, then we enter a journal entry to break up those. So if you get a bulk amount taken out from your checking account, from your payroll service, then we make a journal entry to break those out. So when you get your reports, you see, okay, it's not just payroll expense. It's payroll expense that's broken down into what it actually is, whether it's BWC, wages, overtime, however you want to break it out. You can break it down to minute detail if you really want to. Okay, so now we're going to move on to reporting. Each subscription level of QuickBooks Online has different reporting capabilities. Obviously, the higher the subscription level, the more access you have, just more options for reporting. I really like the reporting in QuickBooks. I know some people have, especially if they came from desktop and moved to QuickBooks Online, there are some reports that desktop has that QuickBooks Online doesn't. And a lot of it has to do with inventory because QuickBooks Desktop is better with inventory. But there are many reports available in QBO and a lot of room for filtering and customization. So I just pulled up a profit and loss report, and you can see at the top here, you can change, there's a drop down box for the reporting period. You can make a custom, or you can do, last year, last month, or you could do it last year and you can split it into months. So I did this year and split it into months just so it'd be easier to see. So we just have January and February and March. And then there's also, I put the little rectangle on the right hand, the right hand side, sorry, is more of a customization that you can do. So you can, there's a lot of ways that you can filter it down just to get the information that you're looking for. Another feature of reporting that I personally really like is that you can click on any number in a report and it will open a new window that gives you more detail. So say I couldn't remember what the discounts given on this profit and loss statement was for, or if it looks like it might be incorrect, I can click on that negative 89.50 and see what transaction or transactions make up that number. So it'll give me a list. And then from there, I can click on the individual transaction. It's probably on an invoice and see the exact invoice this discount was given on. So it's really nice. You can dig down deep to the transactional detail on almost all of the reports. And you can also build really professional looking reporting packages. So it has a really nice cover page and an index, and it's just a little fancier than if you would just export this to PDF. And that's really good if you need to maybe go to the bank to get a business loan, or if you have a board that you need to present your reports to. QuickBooks makes it very easy and automatic to make some really professional looking reports. You can also export your reports to Excel, which is definitely preferred by accountants, because then they can manipulate the numbers how they need to, or someone savvy enough to want to do further customization in Excel. That's not me. I love Excel. I have a love-hate relationship with Excel. So I'm like, if I can do it in QuickBooks, that's where I'm going to do it. There are some limitations to the customization you can do in QBO. And the one thing that some people don't really like is that you can't build reports from scratch. So if you're, into the nitty-gritty and you want to build something really customized, from the get-go, you may not be able to do that in QuickBooks Online. Okay, so there are limitations of QBO. It does not handle complicated inventory very well. If you're purchasing items and reselling them, you should be fine. But if you're purchasing components of inventory items and then assembling them and then selling a finished product, QuickBooks might not be for you. It does not play well with that. It gets sort of confused. You can't bundle components into a final product. It doesn't allow you to do that. But there are third-party applications such as Katana that track inventory very well and integrate very well into QuickBooks. QuickBooks offers a lot of reports, just like we talked about, and a lot of customizations. But if you're looking to build a report from scratch, then you're not going to be able to do that in QBO. So one thing that is actually kind of surprising is a lot of business owners or people using QuickBooks on their own, so not like a bookkeeping firm, have had issues with the QBO support. The way QuickBooks Online, you've probably seen, like, they did some Super Bowl ads and some other stuff. So the way that they market their products makes it seem like anyone with a laptop can use their products successfully. And as you can tell, it is super user friendly and it's really easy to navigate to where you need to go. But it still is bookkeeping and it uses accounting principles. So you still have to have that, like, a little bit of a foundation before you can just jump right in and do your books. So we have many clients that have started out using QuickBooks Online for their business on their own and either quickly made kind of a mess of things or became frustrated and just sort of gave up. We have a lot of clients that just kind of came at the end of the year and were like, I haven't done anything in QuickBooks since March. Can you help me? So I think part of that stems from the marketing of QuickBooks and the lack of support. So there's different QBO subscriptions that allow for certain numbers of individual users with unique logins. So some people don't like that. They want to have unlimited unique logins. QuickBooks doesn't have industry-specific features for e-commerce or manufacturing. But like I said, lots of integration tools that can help with that. And as you saw, the invoice design is rudimentary at best. And then it's super easy to change transactions, which is only a limitation if because you can it's really easy to make a mistake as well. So you can go in and think you're doing one thing and you might actually be doing another, and it can kind of snowball. Okay, so I have all of the subscription levels of QuickBooks Online listed, and we'll go through them really, really quick. I know I'm kind of going over. So the Simple Start, and each of these prices for the first 3 months, QBO gives you half off. So that's why there's a discounted price underneath the original price. So you can see that it has a lot of basic features, income and expenses, taxes, receipt capture, mileage tracker, you can set up contractors, and it's best for small service businesses that just want to track the basics, assets, liabilities, income, and expenses, and that you only need one user. So essentials, small businesses that need to assign billable hours to customers, track bills, and provide access to up to 3 users. So it has a couple, bill management, time tracking, and more users. And then Plus is best for retailers, wholesalers, contractors, other small businesses that require. So you can do inventory tracking here, job costing, and budgeting. So it does have a budget tool, which obviously we don't have time to get into now, but it's pretty basic, but it's very user friendly and pretty useful, I think. And then the Advanced, it's for small to medium sized businesses that want. It has a lot of reporting options. And custom user permission, so you can have someone that just has access to see, just your billing, or just the invoices, or just pieces of the company, in case you don't want them to have access to everything. And so there's a lot you can see in there of extra features when it comes to that. Or if that is insanely overwhelming and you don't want to deal with it, you can hire your local QuickBooks experts, so such as us at BudgetEase. So just a very, very quick rundown of what we do. We're certified QuickBooks professionals. We take that certification every year. We have weekly office hours, so they are actually, it's 2 hours every week on Wednesdays, and they're free. So if you're just starting out, or if you aren't sure if you need bookkeeping assistance, or you just have some general questions about your QuickBooks, or if QuickBooks is right for you, or if you already set it up and you need to go back and change something, or kind of we cover anything. And I'm the trainer for the office hours as well. So that's through Teams, and you can email me or Kathy. I'm sure Tuba can get that information if you need it. And it's free. You can come once or twice or 3 times, and I can help you out with anything that you need, just as a friendly service. We also offer customized training, which also would be me. But we also offer just QuickBooks setup. So if you just want someone to do all the integration, to set up all your stuff, to put in all of your information, Brad on our team is the one that does that. And then we can also clean up your QuickBooks if you are one of the people that either made the snowballing mistake or kind of gave up. We can go in and help you out. And we also offer like full service bookkeeping services at many different levels. So in conclusion, it's easy to learn and use. It's, as you can see, the interfaces are very easy. It's not intimidating. It's easy to navigate. It integrates well with other systems. It provides really good reports. It's relatively affordable. You can access it from almost any device. It's easy to go back and fix mistakes. And it's really easy to look up your customer and vendor information if you just need to have that on hand for whatever reason. So although QuickBooks Online has some limitations, it is a great cost-effective option for most small to medium-sized businesses. And that is all I have for my presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then let me know. I don't know if Tuba wants to jump in or if we have questions.
Thank you so much. Oh. Thank you so much, Melissa. I'm here myself. Sorry about that. Okay. Thank you so much, Melissa. That was really informative presentation, and I hope everyone found this information presentation very helpful for their business. And as I mentioned before, we are recording this webinar, and it will be available on SHTC's YouTube channel by tomorrow. You will receive the link if you want to go back and listen to all this information again. It will be available by tomorrow. So Melissa can answer questions. Now we have a couple of minutes for questions. You can unmute yourself and ask a question. Stevie?
Yes, thank you so much. So I did find a feature that I'm going to use, and it's actually the invoice feature. I think it would be helpful. I use our company's invoice, but I'd rather have my own. So thanks so much for that. Thanks again for the this is real simple. When you were talking about the cost of QuickBooks, I was wondering why my fee went up. And I tried calling and trying to get this information and was not able to get it. So I just kind of said, forget it. But thank you so much for letting me know why my cost increased, I guess, after the 90-day period or whatever. And then lastly, so I use the mileage feature because I am, I'm traveling quite a bit, running, driving around the city, showing different sites. But sometimes I have to end up going back in. So it's not automatic. And I'm using the same automobile, and I'm plugging my phone in. But for some reason, it may capture it and then it may not. So not sure exactly, what the issue is there.
So I'm not 100% sure because typically, I'm not the one doing the mileage, and, unless I have a couple clients that just tell me what their mileage is. They don't use the app for it. I would just make sure that you have a good internet connection or that you're using your data. I'm assuming if it gets interrupted, it probably stops. So that may be part of it, especially if you're driving around. Sometimes if you keep your Wi-Fi on, it may cut in and out because it's bouncing around trying to find, because some cities have Wi-Fi broadcasts and some companies as well have free Wi-Fi, and so your phone may just grab onto that one, and it may not be strong enough. So I would say if you know for sure you need to capture that, maybe turn your Wi-Fi off. That may help.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Any more questions? Melissa, I have a question, actually. So you mentioned that QuickBooks Online is a cloud-based software. And I'm like, what about safety and privacy? What kind of security does QuickBooks use to secure client and business information data?
So that's a good question. To be honest, I don't know. I couldn't tell you like the exact names of the security stuff that they use, the soft, whatever that it is, the security features. But I do know that, from all of the training that I have had and all of the research that I've done, and from talking to QuickBooks representatives, it is in the scheme of this realm of cloud-based bookkeeping, it's extremely safe. I have never had any kind of issue, breach, confidentiality, anything. And they're very careful when you call as well. So, for instance, I had a client that their current bookkeeper just kind of left, took her laptop, left, had all the passwords and everything saved, and so it was a very small operation, so they had no way of even getting into their QuickBooks account. And QuickBooks would not, the owner of the company, so the name on that QuickBooks account, had to get on the phone, send them a copy of his driver's license, before they would even, and they were complaining to me. They were saying, he's never here. He's the owner. And I was like, well, instead of looking at it that way, we should look at kind of flip it and say, hey, this is really great that we know that this lady isn't going to have access to it anymore, and that they're not just giving out password information to anyone. So it's like anything. It's a double-edged sword. It can be frustrating at times if you're in that situation and you really need to get into your books. But as far as that side of it goes, I know they're very, very, very careful.
That's great. Thank you. Any more questions?
Sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna add on to that. I just thought of something. So if you have the QuickBooks Advanced, I think it's the Advanced. It's the highest level. It might be Pro. Anyway, so there are subscription levels as well. So if you have a bigger company and you only, you don't want someone to go in and be able to transfer money or, pay bills or collect money, you could also give limitations to specific users. So I know that's not based on like the cloud-based, but that is a security measure that they also offer.
We don't have any more questions, but if you have questions after the presentation, I think people, our business owners can reach out.
Yes, there's a lot of info, so it might take a minute to be like, oh wait.
I know we talk about this before the webinar. It's like features, functions are endless in QuickBooks Online. So if there's no more questions, so we are at the end of our time today. Melissa, thank you so much again for sharing all this great essential information about QuickBooks Online, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. I hope you found this presentation helpful to manage your business finances and run your business with peace of mind. As I mentioned before, the recording of this webinar will be available on SHTC's YouTube channel. You will receive an email after the webinar, along with Melissa's emailing contact information. Thanks again for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You have a great day also.